The massive metal station floated in the darkness of space, its lights twinkling like stars. Inside, strange beings from across the galaxy sat in a huge round room. Some looked like giant insects, others were made of glowing crystal, and a few appeared to be floating clouds of gas. This was the Galactic Council, where all the smart races of the galaxy came to talk about important things. Ambassador Velthar looked nervous as he stood up. His blue skin was covered in sweat, and his forearms shook as he touched the control panel. Pictures appeared in the air above the table, showing sleek silver ships moving through space. "Friends of the Council," Velthar said, his voice trembling, "we have a big problem. A new race has appeared in the outer part of our galaxy. They call themselves humans." The other beings in the room made worried sounds. Some clicked their claws, others buzzed their wings, and the crystal people flashed different colors. "These humans come from a planet they call Earth," Velthar continued. "It is the third rock from their sun, which they call Sol. But this is not a normal planet, my friends. This is what we call a death world." A tall, thin creature with 6 legs stood up. "What do you mean by death world, Ambassador?" Velthar pressed another button and more pictures filled the air. They showed a blue and green planet with white clouds, but the numbers underneath made everyone gasp. "Look at these facts," Velthar said. "The gravity on this planet is almost twice what most of us can handle. The air is full of a gas called oxygen that would poison many of our people. The weather changes from burning hot to freezing cold. And look at these creatures that live there with the humans." New pictures appeared showing massive beasts with huge teeth, striped cats that could tear apart metal, and giant lizards that looked like monsters from scary stories. "The humans evolved alongside these killing machines," Velthar said. "They are not just smart. They are predators, hunters. They survived by being better at killing than everything else on their world." The room became very quiet. In all their years of meeting different races, the Council had never heard of anything like this. High Counselor Morden, who was very old and wise, floated forward on his special chair. His voice was deep and serious. "What do you suggest we do, Ambassador?" "We must contain them," Velthar said quickly. "Put up barriers around their solar system. Do not let them spread to other worlds. These humans are too dangerous to be allowed into our peaceful galaxy." Just as he finished speaking, all the lights in the station began to flicker. Red warning signs appeared everywhere, and loud alarms started ringing. The beings in the council room looked around in fear. "What is happening?" someone shouted. A young council worker ran into the room, his face pale with shock. "High Counselor, our sensors have picked up 3 unknown ships. They appeared out of nowhere, right outside our defense systems!" Morden's eyes went wide. "Impossible. Nothing can get past our shields without us knowing." "Sir," the worker said, his voice shaking, "the ships match the design of the human vessels Ambassador Velthar showed us." Every being in the room turned to look at the pictures still floating in the air. The sleek silver ships in the photos looked exactly like the ones now sitting outside their station. Suddenly, a new voice filled the room. It came from the communication system, clear and calm. "Greetings, Galactic Council. This is Captain Lee of the Earth vessel Harmony. We are requesting permission to establish diplomatic contact." The council members looked at each other in shock. How had these humans found them? How had they gotten so close without being detected? The voice continued, and there was something almost friendly about it, which somehow made it more frightening. "We have been listening to your discussions about our species. We understand your concerns, and we think it is time we met face to face. We come in peace, but we believe it is better to introduce ourselves properly, rather than have you make decisions about us without talking to us first." Velthar's face had gone completely white. His forearms were shaking so badly he could barely stand. "They were watching us," he whispered. "The whole time we were talking about them, they were watching us." High Counselor Morden tried to keep his voice steady, but everyone could hear the fear in it. "How long have you been listening?" "Long enough to know that you are good people who want to keep the galaxy safe," Captain Lee replied. "We respect that. We want the same thing. Perhaps we can work together instead of being afraid of each other." The silence that followed seemed to last forever. Every being in the council room realized that everything had just changed. These humans had appeared from nowhere, gotten past all their defenses, and listened to their most secret discussions. But instead of attacking or threatening, they were asking to talk. And somehow that was the most terrifying thing of all. The beautiful passenger ship called Serenity of Stars was supposed to be the safest way to travel between planets. Rich people and important leaders from different worlds paid lots of money to ride on it because it had the best protection in the galaxy. But now it floated dead in space, sending out emergency signals like a wounded animal crying for help. Commander, Tekva sat in his military ship staring at his computer screen with confusion. His green skin was wrinkled with worry as he tried to understand what he was seeing. Next to the passenger ship was another vessel, the Blood Talon, the most feared pirate ship in this part of space. But something was very wrong. The pirate ship was not moving at all, and it was sending out surrender messages over and over again. "Sir," said his young assistant, "this does not make sense. The Blood Talon has never surrendered to anyone. Captain Vexstar and his crew have attacked hundreds of ships. They are known for being the most violent pirates in the outer systems." Tekvas nodded slowly. The Vrakan pirates were huge, strong creatures with thick armor-like skin and claws that could cut through metal. They had been terrorizing space travelers for many years, and no one had ever been able to stop them. "Get me a connection to the passenger ship," Tekvas ordered. The main screen lit up, showing the inside of the Serenity of Stars. What Tekvas saw made his 3 hearts skip a beat. A human male stood calmly at the front of the room. His clothes were torn and dirty, but he looked completely relaxed, like he had just finished doing something easy and boring. Behind the human, Tekvas could see the Vrakan pirates. These massive, scary creatures were sitting on the floor with their hands tied behind their backs. Their eyes were wide with fear, and they kept looking at the human like he was some kind of monster. "This is Passenger Kim," the human said in a calm voice. "Everything is under control here. The pirates tried to take over our ship about 47 minutes ago." Tekvas nearly fell out of his chair. 47 minutes? That is impossible. The Vrakan are trained warriors with weapons that can blow holes in starship walls. Kim turned to look at 2 other humans who were in the room. One was a woman they called Park, and the other was a man named Choi. They were busy tying up more pirates and collecting their weapons. "The pirates made several mistakes," Kim explained, like he was teaching a class. "First, they thought we were just normal passengers who would be scared and give up easily. Second, they tried to use fear as a weapon against humans." The pirate captain, a huge Vrakan covered in scars from many battles, looked up at Kim with terror in his eyes. This was Captain Vexstar, the most feared pirate in space, and he was shaking like a small child. "They hunted us," Vexstar whispered, his voice full of fear. "We thought we were the hunters, but they turned our own ship into a trap. They moved through the air vents and maintenance tunnels like ghosts. We could not see them coming." Park walked over and stood next to Kim. She had some cuts on her arms, but she was smiling. "It was actually pretty easy once we figured out their pattern," she said. "They always attack the same way, rush in fast and try to scare everyone. But they do not know how to fight when someone fights back smart." "Smart?" Tekvas asked, still not believing what he was seeing. Choi spoke up from where he was checking the pirates' weapons. "On Earth, we learned long ago that the best way to hunt dangerous animals is to use your brain, not just your strength. These pirates are strong and have good weapons, but they think like animals, not like soldiers." Kim nodded. "When they came onto our ship, we let them think they had won. Then we used the ship's maintenance tunnels to get behind them. We split up and attacked their groups one by one. Every time they tried to find us, we were already somewhere else." Captain Vexstar made a low, scared sound. "We have taken over hundreds of ships. We have fought armies and won, but these 3, they were like death itself. Every corner we turned, they were waiting. Every plan we made, they were already 2 steps ahead. The key," Park explained, "is that we did not try to be heroes. We just used basic military tactics that every human soldier learns. Never fight fair when lives are in danger. Always use the environment to your advantage, and never let your enemy know what you are planning." Thekvas looked at the screen, trying to understand how 3 passengers with no weapons had defeated an entire crew of heavily armed pirates in less than an hour. "What kind of world creates people like you?" he asked quietly. Kim's smile was friendly but somehow very frightening. "The kind of world where everything is trying to kill you, Commander. We learned to survive by being better predators than anything else that wanted to eat us." The communication ended, leaving Thekvas staring at a blank screen, finally understanding why the Galactic Council was so afraid of humans. Dr. Ylandra walked nervously into the secret meeting room deep inside the Council Science Station. Her 4 purple arms carried data tablets filled with information that had kept her awake for weeks. The other scientists and military leaders sitting around the table looked worried as she set up her presentation. "My friends," she began, her voice shaking slightly, "what I am about to show you will change how we think about humans forever. After studying their biology for months, I can tell you that we are dealing with something that should not exist." The lights dimmed, and holographic images filled the air above the table. The first image showed a human skeleton, then a human heart, then a human brain. Each image made the beings in the room more uncomfortable. "Let me start with their bones," Dr. Ylandra said, pointing at the skeleton. "Human bones are not just strong. They are built for chasing prey over long distances. Their leg bones are designed like springs that store energy with every step. They can run for hours without stopping, something that would kill most of us." General Morthak, a large insect-like creature, clicked his mandibles nervously. "Many species can run, Doctor. What makes humans special?" "This," she replied, showing a picture of a human heart and lungs. "Their entire body is built like a hunting machine. Their heart has 4 chambers instead of our 2 or 3. It pumps oxygen-rich blood through their body so efficiently that they can keep moving when we would collapse from exhaustion." Change the image to show human eyes. "Look at these eyes. They point forward, not to the sides like most peaceful creatures. This gives them something called depth perception. They can judge exactly how far away their prey is. Their brains process movement and speed automatically. They can look at something running and predict exactly where it will be in the next few seconds." The room became very quiet. Everyone was starting to understand what Dr. Ylandra was telling them. "But the most frightening thing," she continued, "is something called adrenaline." A new image appeared showing human blood cells and chemical structures. When humans are in danger or hunting, their bodies make a natural drug that makes them faster, stronger, and less sensitive to pain. Imagine a creature that becomes more dangerous when it is threatened. Counselor Rethana raised one of her tentacles. "Surely their intelligence makes them less violent. Most smart species become peaceful as they develop." Dr. Yilandra's expression became very serious. "That is what makes them truly terrifying. Their intelligence does not make them less dangerous. It makes them perfect predators. Let me show you what happened on the Serenity of Stars." The hologram changed to show a 3D model of the passenger ship. Little figures representing the 3 humans, Kim, Park, and Choi, moved through the ship like they were dancing. "Watch how they moved," Dr. Yilandra said. "This is not random. This is not panic. This is coordinated hunting behavior that they learned as children playing games they call hide-and-seek and tag. They turned the entire ship into a hunting ground." The figures in the hologram split up, used air vents to move around, and surrounded the pirate groups one by one. "The pirates thought they were fighting scared passengers," she explained. "But they were actually being hunted by 3 predators who had turned their own ship against them." Kim used his knowledge of ship design to predict where the pirates would go. Park used psychology to make them panic and make mistakes. Choi used tactics to cut off their escape routes. She paused and looked around the room. "Do you understand? They did not just win a fight. They conducted a hunt. Every move was planned to make their prey weaker and more frightened." The hologram showed the timeline of the attack. In just 47 minutes, 3 humans had completely defeated a crew of 20 experienced pirates. "I have studied the security recordings," Dr. Yilandra continued. "The humans never got angry. They never got scared. They worked together like a pack of predators who had been hunting together their whole lives. And when it was over, they were not excited or proud. They were just satisfied, like they had done something completely normal. She brought up a final image. Earth itself, spinning slowly in space. "This is why humans are so dangerous," she said quietly. "Their planet is covered with creatures that could eat them. Giant cats with teeth like knives, massive bears that can crush bones with their jaws, poisonous snakes and spiders. For millions of years, everything on Earth tried to kill humans. How did they survive?" asked General Morthak. "By becoming better killers than everything else," Dr. Yolandra replied. "They learned to hunt in groups. They learned to make weapons. They learned to think ahead and set traps. They survived by becoming the most dangerous predators on their planet." She turned off the hologram and looked at each person in the room. The 3 humans on that ship did not defeat those pirates by being lucky or brave. They won because hunting and killing is what humans do best. It is written into every cell of their bodies and every thought in their minds. They are not just smart creatures who can fight. They are evolution's perfect killing machines who happen to develop intelligence. The room was completely silent as everyone realized they were no longer at the top of the galaxy's food chain. The Zethmori hive had conquered 12 star systems without ever losing a single battle. They were not like other races in the galaxy. Instead of being individual creatures, they all shared one giant mind that connected every single member of their species. When one hive warrior saw something, they all saw it. When one made a plan, they all knew it instantly. This made them almost impossible to defeat because they fought like one massive creature with thousands of bodies. Node 7, one of the hive's thinking centers, floated in its biomechanical chamber on the command ship. Its brain pulsed with confusion as it tried to understand what was happening on the planet below. The humans on Kepler 442b were not behaving like any other species the hive had ever encountered. Core consciousness. Node 7 transmitted to the main hive mind. "We have a serious problem. The humans are resisting our neural integration." The response came from thousands of voices speaking as one. "Impossible. All intelligent life forms submit to the unity. Show us." Node 7 shared its vision with the entire hive network. On the planet's surface, human soldiers were fighting hive warriors in the colony's outer settlements. But something was wrong. The humans were not acting like confused, frightened individuals. They were working together perfectly, but each one was still making their own decisions. Colonel Nam crouched behind a broken wall, watching the alien creatures advance. The hive warriors looked like giant ants made of metal and flesh, moving in perfect formation. But Nam had noticed something important. They all moved at exactly the same time, like dancers following the same music. "Listen up," Nam spoke into his radio to the other human soldiers. "These things are connected somehow. They think as one mind, but that means they have one big weakness." Sergeant Yoon was hiding in a building nearby. "What do you mean, Colonel?" "Watch how they move," Nam explained. "They all turn their heads at the same time. They all step forward together. If we can confuse their connection, they will not know what to do." The hive warriors tried to use their most powerful weapon, the ability to connect with other minds and control them. They had used this power to defeat every other species by simply taking control of enemy soldiers and making them fight for the hive. But when they tried to connect with the human minds, something strange happened. The humans' thoughts were slippery. The hive could sense their minds but could not grab hold of them. It was like trying to catch water with their hands. "Their minds resist integration," Node 7 reported with growing alarm. "Each human maintains individual consciousness even under our psychic assault." Corporal Shin had been watching the enemy very carefully. She noticed that when the hive warriors got confused, they would pause for just a moment while they waited for new instructions from their shared mind. "I think I understand how they work," Shin said into her radio. "They are like a computer network. If we can jam their signal, they will not be able to coordinate." The humans began using their electronic warfare equipment to send out radio signals that interfered with the hive's mental connection. Every time they did this, the hive warriors would freeze for a few seconds, looking lost and confused. "Now!" Colonel Nam shouted. "Hit them while they are disconnected." The human soldiers attacked during these moments of confusion, but they did something the hive had never experienced before. Instead of fighting as one group, each human soldier made their own plan and attacked from a different direction. This created chaos in the hive's shared mind. They were used to fighting enemies who either attacked altogether or ran away in panic, but the humans were doing both at the same time, working together but also acting individually. They adapt too. Quickly, Node 7 transmitted with something like fear. The individual designated Corporal Shin has learned to predict our movement patterns. She strikes at the exact moment when our warriors are waiting for coordination signals. Sergeant Yoon had discovered another weakness. If we separate them from each other, they get confused, she told her squad. Use smoke grenades and spread them out. Make them fight as individuals instead of as one big group. The humans began using tactics that turned the hive's greatest strength into a weakness. They created smoke and noise to hide their movements. They forced the hive warriors to split up into smaller groups. And every time the hive tried to reconnect their separated warriors, the humans would jam their signals again. Within 6 hours, something impossible happened. The mighty Zethmori hive, who had never lost a battle, began to retreat. Their warriors were running away from the human colony, broadcasting surrender messages on all frequencies. How is this possible? The core consciousness demanded, its unified voice cracking with confusion and fear. Colonel Nam stepped forward as the last hive warriors fled. His uniform was dirty and torn, but his eyes were calm and focused. You made one big mistake, he said, knowing the hive could hear him through their remaining warriors. You think that being connected makes you stronger, but we humans learned something different. We learned that the best way to fight is to work together while still thinking for ourselves. The hive's final transmission was filled with something they had never felt before, respect mixed with terror. What kind of species fights as both one and many at the same time? Nam smiled grimly. The kind that survived by being smarter than everything that tried to eat us. 6 months had passed since the humans joined the Galactic Council, and everything had changed. The great meeting hall that once buzzed with arguments and threats was now strangely quiet and peaceful. Species that had been at war for hundreds of years were sitting next to each other, talking calmly about trade agreements and shared projects. Ambassador Han walked slowly to the center of the circular chamber. He was not a big man and he did not carry any weapons, but every alien in the room watched him carefully. His simple black suit looked plain compared to the colorful robes and strange armor worn by the other species, but there was something about the way he moved that commanded attention. Honored friends, Han began, his voice carrying easily through the vast room. When we first arrived in your galaxy, many of you were afraid of us. Today, I want to talk about why that fear has become something else. In the viewing galleries, above, representatives from hundreds of worlds listened carefully. The Vrakan pirates who had once terrorized space lanes were now sitting quietly, wearing clean uniforms with human patrol badges. The fierce Altarian warriors who had fought the Crystal Cathera for decades were working together on a joint mining project, with human mediators helping them solve their problems with words instead of weapons. Dr. Yilandra's research about us was correct, Han continued, nodding toward the purple-skinned scientist who had first studied human biology. We are predators. We evolved to hunt and kill, but she missed one very important thing about how we developed on Earth. The room was completely silent. Even the Zethmori hive representatives, the few who had been allowed to stay in human-protected space, listened through their shared mind connection. Han gestured to a large screen that showed pictures of human families, children playing together, communities working side by side. The same instincts that made us good at hunting also made us good at protecting. On Earth, humans who worked together and protected each other survived better than humans who only cared about themselves. Defense. Coordinator Jin stepped forward from the human delegation. She was a small woman, but everyone in the room knew she was the one who had planned the defense of Kepler 442b against the hive. When we hunt, she said calmly, we hunt to protect our families, our friends, our communities. The galaxy's most Dangerous predator is most dangerous when it has something worth protecting. The truth of this had become clear over the past 6 months. When the Draconis Empire had threatened to invade the peaceful Melleran systems, they had stopped their attack the moment human ships arrived at the border. The humans had not fired a single shot, but the Empire knew what would happen if they continued their aggression. "We chose to protect all of you," Han said simply. "And that choice has changed everything." Former pirate Captain Vextar stood up slowly in the audience. The huge Vrakan warrior looked strange in his clean uniform, but his voice was steady and respectful. "6 months ago, I was the most feared raider in this sector. My crew and I took what we wanted and hurt anyone who tried to stop us. Then we met 3 humans on a passenger ship." He paused, remembering that day. "They could have killed us all. We were helpless after they captured us. But instead of revenge, they offered us jobs. They said every person deserves a chance to choose between being a predator and being a protector." Similar stories had spread across the galaxy. The Zethmori hive, after their defeat, had expected to be destroyed or enslaved. Instead, the humans had offered them sanctuary, helping them learn to exist as individuals while still maintaining their connection to each other. Node 7, speaking for the remaining hive, sent its thoughts through a translation device. "We conquered 12 worlds through fear and domination. We thought this made us strong. But humans showed us that true strength comes from making others want to stand beside you, not forcing them to kneel before you." Ambassador Han looked around the chamber at faces that had once shown terror when they looked at humans. Now he saw something different: respect, trust, and perhaps most importantly, hope. 300 worlds now carry the phrase, "under human protection" in their diplomatic documents, he said. "Not because we demanded it, but because they asked for it. Pirates avoid human space not because we chase them, but because they know we will offer them a better life if they choose it." The changes were visible everywhere. Trade routes that had been dangerous for centuries were now safe. Conflicts that had seemed impossible to solve were being resolved through human mediation. Species that had never worked together were forming new alliances under human guidance. "We did not come to your galaxy to conquer," Han concluded. "We came to explore, to learn, and to find friends among the stars. What we discovered is that the best way to protect the things you care about is to make sure everyone has something worth protecting." As the session ended, representatives from across the galaxy approached the human delegation. They came not as subjects seeking audience with their rulers, but as allies working together toward a common goal. The galaxy's apex predators had indeed changed everything, but not through conquest or fear. They had done something far more powerful. They had made themselves indispensable as guardians, proving that the strongest predator of all is one that chooses to protect rather than destroy. In the corridors outside the chamber, a young alien child tugged on her parent's arm and pointed at Ambassador Han. "Is that a human?" she asked. Her parent nodded. "Yes, little one. And we are very lucky they are on our side."